My name is Danni Ondraskova, and I wanted to thank everyone for coming, and I'm so grateful to be able to talk to you about my experience. As Cindy said, I'm a current WCPI Congressional Fellow for Class of 2021, and please allow me to say a few words about myself first. So I grew up in Rhode Island and the south side of Chicago in a very tight-knit immigrant family from former communist Central Europe, and my parents taught me early on through their words and example that living a life of service brings purpose, meaning, and joy to both oneself and one's community. And my first exposure to public service was actually in college, when I was interning for U.S. Senator Mark Kirk of Illinois, my home state. So what I would do is I would often give constituents tours, answer their phone calls, and write memos on Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearings. And I loved the work on the Hill so much that I would stay until 9 or 9 p.m. many days on the Senate gallery to watch speeches. So I attended Wellesley College and earned a bachelor's in economics and Russian area studies before I went to the University of Chicago and got a master of public policy in 2020. And my internships often touched on the Hill or foreign policy in some way. For example, the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee, the Institute for Legal Aspects of Religious Freedom at the University of Trnava Law Faculty in Slovakia, and my time as a Complement Policy Fellow at the U.S. Helsinki Commission. So for this fellowship, I wanted to apply for this WCPI fellowship because of the wonderful, unparalleled opportunity to serve as the equivalent of a legislative assistant on Capitol Hill, working on legislation that would hopefully far outlive my tenure. And I wanted to deepen my expertise in Central and Eastern Europe and human rights, especially freedom of religion or belief. So I was extremely fortunate to be placed at my top choice, which is the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, a bipartisan, bicameral body with members from both the House and Senate who work on human rights hearings and such. So in my first week, I was able to research the war in Tigray and the genocide against the Uyghurs in China, as well as write letters to the Biden administration on urging the freeing of political and religious prisoners of conscience. And so the personal office that I'm also associated with, Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey, his office has a reputation for prolific bill writing and always helping out with human rights cases. So there was always a lot of work to do and someone to serve. So the opportunity to expand my analytical and writing skills through bill writing has been highly fruitful for me. So primarily my legislative efforts have been centered on the Trafficking Victims Protection Act reauthorization, which reauthorizes the key anti-human trafficking legislation that the United States penned in 2000. So I really dug into this from the middle of February. I began with looking at the history of the past reauthorizations, of which there I think were 5, as well as taking into account constituent feedback from primarily governments and nonprofits, looking at all the related authorizations and appropriations for funds, which are really important, writing and rewriting the bill, especially with our new staffer Mary Vihil in the past few weeks, and then several times a week briefing the Chief of Staff, Legislative Director, and Staff Director. So I want to give my thanks now. So first I'd love to thank Chief of Staff Mary McDermott Noonan for helping me improve my briefing skills, Kelsey, our Legislative Director, for her insights to the legislative process, my supervisor Piero Tozzi for being an invaluable source of feedback for all of my writing, and the other fellow Patrick Harvey for his insights into the workings of the U.S. bureaucracy. All of these people helped me feel like I was a key part of the team, and I also want to thank those who are involved with WCPI, Kenny Thompson, Taylor Lustig, Charlene Denizard, of course Cindy and Cheryl, the current fellows Marshall and Jamie, and all the other WCPI staff and my family and friends, and of course Piero, my supervisor. It is now my great pleasure to introduce my supervisor, Piero Tozzi, who is the Republican Staff Director of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. Me and Piero have known each other for about 2 years, but I'm really fortunate that I was able to work for him this year. And under his tutelage, I was able to learn a lot more about U.S. foreign policy and the inner workings of the Hill. So after he completed law school, Piero spent about half his career in the private sector before working for several nonprofits, and after that in 2013 he transitioned to the Hill, becoming the staff director of the Africa Subcommittee on the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee. And then in 2019 he assumed his current position, and his current specialization is in Africa and East Asia, even though his human rights work spans all over the world. So I admire Piero not just because of his knowledge and deep expertise and experience, but the fact that he's always been dedicated to defending the lives of the most vulnerable, especially those who face religious persecution in their home countries. Piero has an inquisitive mind, an easygoing nature, caring heart, and he always has his door open to young people for career advice, even though he's extremely busy. And one lesson that Piero taught me early on was to take each day as a gift and opportunity to do good. And thanks to his many lessons, I think I've been able to become a better daughter, employee, and hopefully person. So Piero, thank you so much for your mentorship and support over the past 2 years. I'm so grateful to have known you, and it is now my great pleasure to introduce Piero Tosi.
Well, thank you, Danny, for that kind introduction, and thank you, WCPI, for lending Danny to us for all too short a time at the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. And I just want to tell you a little bit, when I first met Danny, it was an informal interview that we just had, and we just started chatting. We bonded over 3 words, Jean Bethke Eltshain. And for those of you who've never heard of Jean Bethke Eltshain, well, not many people have, but Danny had and I had. And she was a public intellectual, really an important thinker who wrote about religion, wrote about political theory, wrote about public policy that influenced Danny and also influenced me. And it's very rare that you meet somebody who shares a common interest in a thinker and in ideas. And we really bonded over that, and that was very, very gratifying. And I really wanted to make sure that Danny came and joined us here at the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. And fortunately, thanks to WCPI, she did. And we had some really great work that Danny did. She worked on trafficking and the reauthorization of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, did some fantastic work there, and then worked on a number of human rights issues, for example, Belarus. And she drafted an opening statement for Congressman Chris Smith, the co-chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, and did some fantastic research and some fantastic work there, which we're very, very grateful for. But I do really have to say what I most enjoyed, Danny, was the times when we would just, in the middle of our work, we would just start talking about ideas, books, and things like that, things that we had in common. And that's all too rare, but it's important. It really is something that makes life fulfilling, and it's important that we in Congress, think about ideas, think about public policy and the big picture, which all too often we don't have a chance to do. So very grateful for that, Danny, for your company, for your friendship, and I'm just so excited for you as you embark on the rest of your career. I expect great and fantastic things from you. And I know that this fellowship that you had is really, it's an important stepping stone. So I'm really grateful to WCPI again for enabling Danny to spend time with us, to learn from us, and to teach us a few things. So really fantastic, and I'm so excited about your future. Thanks.